Welcome to Decades of Horror, the classic era.
When I go to confession, I don't offer God small sins, petty squabbles, jealousies. I offer him sins worth forgiving.
This is episode 106, recorded August 13th, 2021.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Jeff Mohr. On this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. In each episode, we discuss the monsters, spirits, psychos, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history. We're also partnering with the classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel, so you should check that out. Our podcasts are on the Sci-Fi Movie Channel. Sometime in the somewhat near future, we'll also be on the classic Horror Movie Channel from the same source. So we're looking forward to that. You can, right now, those are available on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, online websites, and all OTT platforms, as well as mobile, tablet, and desktop. With me this week are my incredible co-hosts, Whitney Collazo, an accomplished artist, makeup artist, and writer. How are you, Whitney?
I'm all right. How are you guys?
I'm good. Is it hot in North Carolina?
Oh, God. Yes, it's an inferno.
I melted 3 times today, all the way to the ground.
Melted. Okay. They put you back in your freezer pop mode.
All 3 times I melted all the way.
Okay. Also with us is Chad Hunt.
No one would help me.
No.
The co-host on Decades of Horror, the 1970s and 1980s. Film producer, director with Wreak Havoc Productions, and a comic book artist and writer. Chad, how you doing?
I am excited to be on the world's greatest classic horror podcast. In the world.
In the world.
In the whole world.
We're working on the universe, but the world will work. Also with us is Daphne. Also with us is Daphne. Awesome, stupendous, likable as hell. And Daphne is coming from us from a remote. I don't know if it's remoter or just a different remote location. How you doing, Daphne?
I'm doing real good. I am transmitting to you from Tucson, and it's
Excellent.
Hot here, but it's dry heat, I hear.
Yeah. My sister-in-law, who used to live in Phoenix, said it's not that hot. You just have to wear oven mitts when you drive.
Oh, that's it.
Because your steering wheel gets so hot from sitting. Anyway, okay.
I guess I came in monsoon season. I think it's sunny 360 days a year or something, and then 350.
I love monsoons.
My brother tells me about monsoon season. My brother's in Tucson and my mother-in-law's in Phoenix, so we get there periodically. All right. On this podcast, we're going to start with some basic details of the film we're covering, get some first impressions, and then go off the rails. So, our movie this week. We've been trying to get this in. So anybody who is looking forward to this, here it is. If not, here it is. The movie is Rasputin, the Mad Monk, from 1966, directed by Don Sharp, written by Anthony Hines as John Elder, which was his usual pseudonym. The cast includes Christopher Lee, Barbara Shelley, Richard Pascoe, Francis Matthews, Susan Farmer, Dinsdale Landon, and Renee Asherson. It was a Seven Arts Hammer production, filmed at a variety of locations around, I think, Bray Studios, Black Park, Iverheath, Buckinghamshire, Down Place, and Berkshire. I have to practice saying those. Buckinghamshire. Somebody tell me if I said it wrong. Filming dates, June 7th to July 20th, 1965. It was released in the UK on March 6th, 1966, and on April 6th, of the same year in the U.S. Budget was £100,000, which at the time was around $280,000. And now the box office, we have some information on the U.S. box office, actually rentals, not box office, but it was released in the U.S. with The Reptile, and Fox, who was the distributor, said it needed to earn $1.2 million in rentals to break even, and it made $1,645,000. So I guess it made a profit. The synopsis: thrown out of his monastery for licentious and drunken behavior, Rasputin travels to St. Petersburg to try his luck there with licentious and drunken behavior. I don't know. Maybe that part isn't true. Through a dalliance with one of the czarina's ladies in waiting, he soon gains influence at court with his powers of healing and of hypnotism, but he also makes enemies who wish to see him dead.
But but who's never been thrown out of a monastery for licentious behavior? So
I have been in a monastery. I've actually worked in a monastery.
Oh, wow.
But that'll be for another time. Let's do right now, before we do anything else, the taglines.
Oh, Lord, let me get back to my tabs again. You caught me off guard there. Okay.
These are good ones, I promise.
Okay, then. Ladies man and lady killer.
Yeah.
Well, see, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. All I hear is crickets.
To be fair, I was holding back
truth
on
about Rasputin, the Mad Monk. What were you going to say, Whitney? Whitney had something good to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, just to be honest, I was holding back a slight burp. I'm sorry.
I thought she had a nice, good little word of wisdom.
No,
there.
sorry. I'm just weird
But that
faces,
ranks.
awkward expressions where I'm like, yeah, sorry, I was holding back something. Don't know if you heard it. Sorry.
The comment ranks right up there with most of our comments, so don't hold back.
Apologies if you heard it. Anyways.
All right. Torn from the pages of history, the truth about the man who turned men into killers and women into animals.
So the astounding truth and the pages of history, I guess, if you read anything about this, not so much.
No, it's not. None of this was the Rasputin of real. Nor was any of this true. Well, we'll get into that. What mystic power did this man possess that turned men into killers and women again into some kind of animal?
Mystical. I know it was.
Yeah, it was something. Anyway. Disguise yourselves from the forces of evil. Get your Rasputin beard free as you enter the theater. Give it to guys and gals alike.
I think that's my favorite.
It is. All these years I've been looking at that poster and I never realized. Take a look at the poster. It's on the poster. There's the beard.
Listen, we paid our money. Give my kid his Rasputin beard.
I don't know why. I just don't. I don't remember this coming around. I would have loved to have had that beard.
Look at that cheap looking thing. It looks like a coat hanger with about 10 dead mice hanging from it.
But it's awesome.
It is. Oh,
yeah, I'd wear it.
I could just see it.
Same.
Just see it. I'd like to see a film of an audience of people with that beard on watching this movie.
Look at the look on Christopher Lee's face. He's like, "They're really giving these away?"
Wait a minute. I think I can do
Is that what I look like? Oh my god,
that's what they look like. Looks better than mine.
All right. Couple more posters here. Remember, we said it was released with the reptile in the U.S., so here's a couple of combo posters, and you still got the beard, apparently.
Disguise yourself from the forces of evil. That makes no sense whatsoever.
It does.
You got Rasputin,
really
the mad monk, the most evil guy on the planet at the time.
Where's
his beard?
Rasputin will never recognize you.
I can see the devil has a lineup of all these people with beards, and he's going pulling down each beard. You Rasputin? You really Rasputin?
So this is here. We have an Italian poster, and I know you did. We have an Italian poster and a French poster, which are, I don't know. It's okay.
I like the bottom one makes me think of poutine, which is really yummy.
Doesn't it?
It does.
And that's how they were pronouncing it too, like Rasputin.
That's funny.
All right. Now I got something else on here.
Rasputin.
Rasputin. It's a special dish. So I added. I'm gonna warn you ahead of time, Chad. If you well, I'm not gonna cut the laughing part.
Rasputin. I'm sorry.
Oh man.
Now we're coming up with a menu of in the cafeteria at Hammer Studios. Rasputin. That's all I can come up with.
We've got Rasputin and the terror of lasagna today.
There's a restaurant in Des Moines called Zombie Burger and Drink Labs, and that does sound like, and they do have poutine, and it has all their stuff has names like from zombie movies, like there's the Walking Ched, and I don't know, they're coming to get you, Barbara Burger or something.
Ooh, I would eat that.
Like that. So I have one more to show, and I will gladly delete it if you don't want me to show it, but
love.
Ooh, best. Awesome. Love it.
It's the worst drawing I've ever seen. Who drew this crap?
It's up to you, Chad. I didn't ask you ahead of time, so
It's great.
Our very own Chad,
it is great.
The monk, drew this.
I was supposed to be working. I hope my boss doesn't see this.
I figured it was a meeting doodle, but it was too good for a doodle.
No, that was just straight up laying off work and going and drawing in the corner somewhere.
So anyway,
thank you, Jeff.
We love sharing our talented co-hosts' work here. All right.
Love it.
So first impressions. This one is Daphne's pick. She so patiently awaited this. So Daphne, when did you first see this, and what are your impressions?
The first time I saw it was a couple of weeks ago, and I love it. I really, really like this movie, and I got to watch it on the classic Sci-Fi, which was I wanted to watch it before after we saw the Quatermass in the Pit, or Quartermass in the Pit, because I wanted to watch more Barbara Shelley.
Quatermass.
Yeah, she's trying to tick somebody off in the audience.
I'm anyway.
So when I saw that we could watch this, that's why I picked it, and I loved it. Christopher Lee is so awesome. He's just awesome, but he's really, really good in this movie. Barbara Shelley's great. I watched it a couple times. The costumes are wonderful. It's a total hammer. The music was crazy. I loved it. I thought that was my first impression. I loved it.
Excellent. Monsieur Chad Hunt, when did you first see this? The monk, Chad the monk. I'm sorry, Mr. Monk.
Get it right, Mohr. Anyway, I've seen bits and pieces of it. I can't really say that I've sat down and saw the whole thing. So I saw the complete movie a couple days ago, and I knew about this movie. I knew about Rasputin, and this movie has very little in common with the real Rasputin. But it's still Christopher Lee. I don't know, that whole arc of his where he's just been thrown out in the street and he sort of builds his way up and all this. It was a very cool arc for that character, and he got a chance to like really talk for once in a movie, you know, and try and show what he had in the movie. So I thought that was very cool. Because usually as Dracula and Frankenstein, he was, you know, pretty much silent. So it was good to see that in that booming voice of his, and I think could be one of my favorite characters he's done. I mean, I really, really, really enjoyed watching him act in this film, and he commanded that movie. He commanded the whole movie. All the other, you know, everybody else was like almost like side characters. He had such charisma and drew you in into that role, and it was so good. So yeah, I was very impressed for sitting down and watching it for the first time all the way through. Except the credits, I hated those.
Okay. Whitney, how about you?
True.
Gosh, I can't believe that I haven't seen this one before until recently, and it should have been something on my list long ago, but I'm glad I got to see this because this is going to sound silly, but my impressions of Rasputin were purely fantasy. I don't know a lot about the true history or anything of the sort of this character, because when my first impression of him was the animated movie of Anastasia, of the character himself, but seeing Christopher Lee, like an actor like him from movies that I enjoy, or like the anthology of the Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, and just seeing him go from roles like The Devil Rides Out to Dracula, just seeing that he can be a true character actor, and just take on a form that's so manipulative and hypnotic, and it's just mystifying. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but gosh, he plays mean so good. You can't hate him. So I loved it.
Yeah, he was really good. I had not seen this before. This is on my list of Hammer films to catch, so I was glad that Daphne picked it. And now I want to see the Fu Manchu ones that star Christopher Lee and are also directed by Don Sharp. But anyway, I couldn't take my eyes off Christopher Lee. Every time he was on there, it was like he really was hypnotizing in a way. He walked around so regally and with such force and such disdain towards everybody else that it was interesting. And I don't know, you know, in their defense, I would say at the time that this came out, they didn't know the history quite as well as we do now, but we'll talk about that later. So I love the rest of the cast. I loved with Hammer. It was great sets, great wardrobe, great, just awesome. And we'll get into that as well. So to first go on to talk about, I mentioned Don Sharp. So Don Sharp directed this. He did a couple of non-Hammer films in the genre, a movie called Witchcraft, and then The Curse of the Fly. So with Lon Chaney Jr. in Witchcraft, and Brian Dunleavy was in Curse of the Fly. So his first Hammer film was Kiss of the Vampire. And then he did Devil Ship Pirates, which we have actually several of the people in this movie were in that. Kind of like most Hammer films, I guess. And then The Face of Fu Manchu and The Brides of Fu Manchu. I love the caption for The Brides of Fu Manchu, better dead than wed. Oh, Lordy. And he also did The Death Wheelers, also known as Psychomania, which we did on 70s, right, Chad?
Yeah.
That's a pretty interesting movie as well. And then one called Dark Places, that also has Christopher Lee. I think he worked with Christopher Lee 6 times, if I remember right. And I think I have maybe 4 of those on here. Devil Ship Pirates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Rasputin. I'm not sure which is the 6th one. But anything you noticed about his direction, or?
Well, it had that Hammer feel to it. Daphne's muted.
You're muted, Daphne.
And so I'm going to continue to carry on the conversation like I had something meaningful to say, just to cover for my podcast buddy.
Sorry.
Daphne, please take over.
Because he's a monk, and they're like that, you know.
Whoops, sorry about that. I was just going to say that I like the atmosphere, which was basically what you were saying. It definitely had that hammer atmosphere.
Yes, it does.
And I loved how it kind of changed from that little inn. You know, I definitely had a warm inn vibe there, and then then St. Petersburg, that other bar, was crazy. And it also falls under that category of people in other countries speaking British
accent.
Yeah. So I didn't know whether to do it in Russian or English accent at the beginning.
And then, like you mentioned before, the costumes were all really good. I know that's not part of the direction, but just that to go in that whole atmosphere, I thought was really nice. I liked a lot of the wide shots where you could see everything, kind of incorporating that atmosphere in the shots. And, I thought it was really fun. It's lovely to look at.
It is. And one thing I like that he did, Christopher Lee, Rasputin sort of blended in with the scenery at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And as the movie went on, the brighter, more garish his costume became. So at the end, he had that really bright red one and the white one and everything.
Yeah.
And so all that he made the focus of everything almost like he was doing what Rasputin did, hypnotize people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was a really cool thing that he did there, because at the beginning he was dressed like dirt, like everybody else, and as it went on, I thought that was really cool.
I like the pacing of the story. I mean, I didn't really expect to see something go so harsh and so quick I felt like it was getting pretty fast and intense, especially like towards that fight scene. So it started out intimate with Rasputin and that girl. And then I think that's what happened, right? He started out, and then the whole fight, and then the guy, his hand, that happened to his hand. And I know Chad's not fond of hearing about that stuff.
Yeah, I had to look away.
Sorry.
I couldn't find a picture of that, so you can relax.
Yeah. No,
I'm dealing with it now that I've added fiber to my diet.
But yeah, no, I was reluctant to bring it up. I'm like, but the fight scene, how can you not talk about it? So, but yeah, I like the pacing of it. It was a good pace, and the action and the dynamic and dialogue, the back and forth with characters.
Mm-hmm.
It was good stuff. And yes, atmosphere is beautiful, and a lot of shadow, like him falling into the shadow towards the end.
Yeah.
There was great lighting, and the cinematographer on this was Michael Reed, which I was just taking a quick look. He did, I think this was maybe his 4th Hammer film, without really digging into too much detail. But there's a lot of the same people were in these movies: the Devil Ship Pirates, the Gorgon, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, and Rasputin. There was a whole lot of crossover. Anyway, yeah, I thought it was great.
We were talking about the darkness, but they also did that with his eyes too. Whenever he was doing something, they'd zoom in close on those eyes. And like we were talking about, Chad, oh my gosh, the charisma was just intense and dripping. And so when those scenes would zoom in on him, those shots can sometimes feel like a little goofy, but it was perfect. It was so perfect.
Yeah.
And his hands too. The zooming in on his hands, his eyes.
Huge hands.
Oh my goodness! When he had his hand on that woman's, the bar owner's wife's face, I was like, oh my God, his hands are like.
Yeah, if he gives you the finger, it takes 2 days to see the whole thing.
I'll keep it down.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. So, and there's so many shots of this. I was going through images I could find of the movie, and there are so many different ones of him like glaring and being hypnotizing that I had to like cut back. Barbara Shelley said that she actually fit that one scene where she's in his apartment and he's telling her something, giving her a task to do, that she had to like stare in his eyes. She said she almost felt like she was getting hypnotized. It was so.
Well, he pulled that off very well.
Yes.
I mean, that was a big thing with the real Rasputin, was that his eyes were so piercing. You hear a lot of people talking about that and how they felt hypnotized when they would look into his eyes. And I think they really went out of their way to make that one of his big superpowers, I guess. But I thought he pulled that part of it off really well too.
Yeah, so the more I see of her, the more I like Barbara Shelley. She is just amazing. Now these are I just pulled some assorted movies for her. That's from Catgirl, the top one, which is kind of a mid-50s copy or rip-off, or reimagining might be a more correct way of saying of Cat People. And it's actually kind of interesting, but it's and then the bottom one is Dracula, Prince of Darkness. Yeah. She goes full vampire. And then these are the ones that we've done episodes on these movies already. So Village of the Damned. She was George Sanders' wife. And the middle one is from the Gorgon, which a beautiful cloak, which I don't know where they come up with these cloaks, but they're incredible. And of course, the bottom one is from Quatermass in the Pit.
Loved her in that movie.
Yeah,
she was so good.
I've loved her in everything, and she does a really big range in this movie, right? Mm-hmm. Everything from aristocrat to fallen woman to somebody that's got an unhealthy relationship or is obsessed to
I was reading a little bit about this movie, and a couple of times people made comments about like her typical over the top acting or whatever, and I was like, oh, she's good. She's a really good actor. I mean, she I don't know if smolder is the right word, because what we usually think about it, but there's like this depth to her. It was like that in Quatermass too. And definitely a sexuality in this movie. And so when she kind of lost it, I didn't think that was over the top. I thought she lost it. It was part of her descent, I thought she was great in this movie. I totally, I loved her interactions with most of the characters, her brother, Rasputin. I think she just really good. And I thought her character was interesting too.
Yeah.
I thought it was anything but a run-of-the-mill performance. Yeah. I thought it was a little bit more so than that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've never thought of her as being over the top.
I know, me either. So
especially Quatermass, there were some downplayed moments where she could have, and she did, and she played it very subdued and all that. So.
Yeah, she has a way of being subdued, but she doesn't disappear. You know what I mean? She her presence is there still.
Or something like that. I don't know.
Well, and we did. She just passed away in January of this year, so which is why we picked Quatermass in the Pit, so we would cover something kind of timely about her, but now we're here again. So I love her. I absolutely love her. She has a kind of, I don't know how to explain it. She has sort of a classic look, but not model like. I don't know. Anyway,
It's definitely classic. It's definitely, I wouldn't say modest, but classic would be the right word. And just like what everyone else is saying, her variation and how she plays off with everyone else was really intense. Especially what really haunted me was knowing full well after that hypnotism that she knew it kind of came back to her when she was with the boy and with that whole fall scene and seeing like, oh wow, they actually wanted her to have that push there, but there's that angle, that awkward angle where they have that shot, seeing that she's directly involved.
mm-hmm.
So that was really, it was really an eerie moment, especially seeing that for between her and that child.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And apparently she didn't remember it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Rasputin. At it again. No, I thought she did great, and I love the different ranges. So, at the beginning, she's kind of the aristocrat out about town, and they're kind of slumming in this, what we would call a dive bar, or sort of beneath them. But then later, she's got no problem. He captures her right away, basically, just in that you will apologize to me comment. And then later, when she's freaking out when they're fighting, they have that fight. I thought that was great too. She was really, I don't know, I really like her. So, Dr. What did he play? Dr. I want to say, it wasn't Zargo. That's it. I was going to say Zardov. No, that's wrong. Dr. Zargo, Richard Pascoe, and the bottom photo here is from the Gorgon. So he was also in that with Christopher Lee and Barbara Shelley. And above that, I've talked about this before, but there was a series in the late 50s, The Adventures of Robin Hood, that starred Richard Green, and Hammer decided to make a movie with him. And to be honest, I kind of forget the title of this right off the top of my head. It's like the Sword of Sherwood Forest or something like that. And actually, Hammer made I think maybe 3 Robin Hood movies, and they had a different person playing Robin Hood in each one, I think, which is kind of odd. Sword of Sherwood Forest. So the guy on the right is Richard Pascoe. You could probably tell. So what about him? I liked him too. He starts off as this drunk, and he played a great drunk.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
That dance scene when he does that little flourish and collapses on the floor is just.
That was great.
Yeah,
that was great. I thought it was interesting how when you're first introduced to him, he's almost just like a Hulk. Like I didn't even think that he was really had any brains or anything. Yeah. But then he's this doctor, this refined but addicted, doctor. You don't know what he did, but I liked him too. I thought he did a really good job. I thought that was an interesting character, and I liked the actor in it too. I really believed his kind of being at the bottom, but kind of wanting to make right.
And he sort of did at the end. I mean, he.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He did I thought he did a great job from that point, like you said, Daphne. To where I think that's probably the only way he was able to make money is to do those drinking games or whatever. To helping Rasputin and that that type of thing, and then becoming a hero at the end and deciding to do the right thing. It was a good role. It was a good role, and he really did it well.
And I find it interesting when there's characters who are willing to do the bad work. Like he was like, yeah, I'll kill him. You know, he's like, you don't have to do it. I will do it. I will kill him. And he's just so certain and okay with that. While other people are like, oh, you know, can we do this? And he was like, no, I'll do it. You just have to help.
You just need to get him there.
You just need to get him there. Yeah.
No, I like conflicted
that's
characters.
Every Christmas at my house.
Oh.
I'll kill him. No, you did it last year. I'm sorry, Whitney.
Oh no, I mean, I just like conflicted characters like him, like you guys have said, starting out as a drunk and then moving up and doing all of these things that are terrible, and then finding that what is that? More of his conscious, like good conscious, to try to, like you guys said, do the right thing. And oh my gosh, how many times? And then he finally 1, 2, 3 with him. He tried to get him, and then that fall. So,
and he was so terrified too. Like I totally believe that he was like really.
He looked terrified.
Yeah,
yes, you saw him crawling to him, like that scene where he sees Christopher Lee crawling to him, and I almost felt that
runs out
him.
and screams at the.
Like he's not gonna die.
Yes. I felt that with him. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're trying so hard to do the right thing, and then this is happening to you.
Which is a big change from, like you said, he just sort of walks out and sits down, doesn't say anything, and his friend is trying to round up the bets and the money to just find a way that I can drink as much as I want.
Exactly.
I'll do it. And he's a pretty well-known English actor. He does a great job. Susan Farmer, who I didn't know that much about until I started looking into it a little bit. Same thing. Chad, and I can't remember, Whitney, did you do Die Monster Die with us? You did, didn't you?
Did I? Okay, I'm sorry. My memory is not that great.
I don't remember the one with Nick Adams.
Did I? I'm sorry.
Boris Karloff. Anyway, it was several years. I think it was like, you might not have. I think it might have been just before you started, but so that's her with Boris Karloff in Die Monster Die, or it's also known as Monster of Terror, I think. And there she is with, I guess,
just call her the worst Bond ever.
Hairdo. Well, this is in The Saint, actually.
Okay. He's still the worst Bond ever.
She was in 4 episodes of The Saint, which is why I put that one on there. And then top one is from The Devil Ship Pirates.
I love that.
And then, of course, it is. And Dracula, Prince of Darkness. You know, holding up the cross, baby. Yeah. Nice. I don't know if she's warding off Christopher Lee or Barbara Shelley after she's turned. It's hard to tell. But she's like at the other side of the type of actress that she's more subdued, maybe.
Yeah.
And it was weird. She had some key parts, but I mean, obviously she was the bait for the end, right? Because we knew that Rasputin loved her.
I was really wondering if she was actually going to show up. I was kind of like waiting to see if she was involved in the plan at all.
Right.
I wasn't surprised that she wasn't, but I wondered like if she was going to go along with it, because clearly I'm pretty sure she didn't like him. You know?
Because that was mentioned, right? The conversation, because wasn't it the brother? Was it the brother that said to Rasputin, "I've heard she was saying that Vanessa was saying horrible things about you." Right. Is that correct?
Yes, that's his brother. Right. Yeah, Ivan Kesnikov.
Yeah. But even though she wasn't in that scene, you're right. She was really important to that scene. She was an important character to get him there.
Oh, and he does it great. I'm going to throw him up there right now. Francis Matthews.
Oh my gosh.
And these shots are from, the top one is from Revenge of Frankenstein with Peter Cushing. And the next one is in Dracula, Prince of Darkness, alongside Andrew Keir, who played Quatermass and Quatermass in a bit. So, but God, that scene that you were talking about, that's why I pulled this up. The scene where he goes to visit Rasputin and lures him with the idea of his sister. He is so good in that. It's just,
yeah.
He, Rasputin just like dictates what everybody else does, but he walks up, and I forget what he says to him, and Rasputin pretty much, oh, do you have some time? No. Well, then I'll be quick, and he walks right past him.
Yeah, he had control of the situation totally. And I was kind of surprised because I thought, I don't know if he's gonna be able to pull this off, but he knew what he was doing. He clearly like played the political game or something. He was able to do it.
Definitely.
And he was really, really good at it. Yeah. The only one that Rasputin reacted to like that. Yeah, he was really good.
Do you guys think, I know it's a Hammer film, and do you think they romanticize the movie or the character a little too much, or
the Rasputin character?
Yeah. I mean, because I know in real life he was a disgusting human being, but you know how they'll make Dracula into a romantic character,
right?
Yeah.
So that way, that's the way I was talking. Like,
I think maybe.
Or do you think everybody's like they know he's evil?
Well, one of the things I kind of liked about this movie was the moral ambiguity to it. So I feel like they romanticized it in that way and kind of made him more, I don't know if sexy is the right word, but the charisma, they really kind of played that up and to maybe romanticized it that way. But because it was all like, they were all kind of morally ambiguous, like even talking about Zargo, like doing the right thing, he was killing him, maybe that was the right thing, but it was murky. So it kind of, I think that made it a little bit easier to kind of maybe not delve into really how evil Rasputin he was capable of in real life. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, the way you said that the moral ambiguity, it's just, he had to manipulate. That's exactly the word. Like he had to use that whatever ability to manipulate and hypnotize. And of course, it did use that to his advantage to attract Sonia and in other ways. And then it's just, but now today, looking at characters like that, it is like a nice try, but that's still gross. Right. I don't know. It's just, that's how I see it with certain with characters like that. It did make me think, yes, it makes me think of Dracula a little bit with that kind of master mind of manipulation and hypnotism, but it's just, it works in this though. But yeah, I just thought he was bad anyway, even though he had his moments of he had it for personal gain. I mean, I just saw that the whole way through.
Yeah.
That's a good question though, I think, Chad. Just to think about that, because that does happen sometimes in these stories, especially with Hammer, like you're talking with Dracula and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I know. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dad.
I was going to say, in Christopher Lee's performance, he doesn't downplay the horribleness of Rasputin.
No, not at all. And I know that they can't really, they can't really portray everything the real Rasputin was into and the things he had done at the time this movie came out. A lot of that was no. But I guess my other question is, do you guys think, under the restrictions that they had for what they can actually portray on screen, for what I don't know how you guys are familiar with the real Rasputin at all, or how much you are, but he was all the stuff was true about they poisoned him, stabbed him, shot him, and he just kept coming back. Or unless Jeff knows different.
Well, did they glamorize him? I don't know, because I have to think back. You got to go back to 1910, and what was it like in the royal court? Because he did worm his way into the royal court. So would he have had better places to stay, better lodgings, better clothes, and that stuff? And yeah, you're right. It sounded like they definitely there was all kinds of rumors and stories about women flocking to him, and there was a lot of stories about people that started off being his followers, that tried to promote him, but then later on turned against him. Which is the guy that the Zardoff character or Zargo character. God, I got that stuck in my head now. The real life person that is that was the same way, right? He was a proponent of him and helped get him into the court, even though in this version of it, it's that he was forced to. We don't know. He pushed him, So, yeah, he was a long career. So I'll say it now. So I was reading about this, and I also was listening to the Blu-ray, and so there's all these different versions of that story. But what it comes down to is there's a guy that told us the story about the poisoning. He's the only guy that would know for sure what happened then. Where's this? Okay, yeah. Yusupov is the one who said he poisoned him. And I believe it was Pavlovich, although I'm not sure. I thought it was a doctor.
Of the
in one of the things I
Petersburg
read.
Pavloviches.
Yeah. The doctor was supposed to have poisoned him. And years later on his deathbed, this guy said, I never put the poison in. I chickened out. So it's possible that Yusupov still thought the poison was in there. Anyway, but it's one of those things that nobody can ever possibly know for sure.
Yeah.
But that was the story, was he was poisoned 3 ways to Sunday and then shot, and then and that's what I always heard growing up.
I'm pretty ignorant about the real Rasputin, but
Same here.
so he's definitely kind of from stuff from here, but was he even worse than in this movie? Was he?
Oh no.
Oh.
The real guy, if everything you believe even half of it, he was just a despicable.
Yeah, he used his position to get women.
Yeah,
the real Rasputin used his position.
He sort of became like a David Koresh type almost.
Okay, all right.
Like a cult leader.
Okay.
One of his followers later turned against him and accused him of rape. So that was another thing that started to get people to turn against him. And what else happened? The Tsar left Russia for World War I, or left the capital or the palace. And the czarina was much more taken by Rasputin. So people didn't like that they were basically running the country. So that was and what I don't know about what I know about Russian history is that's pretty much it. But I was read a couple of different articles about Rasputin, and that's what it sounded like to me. Maybe one of our viewers or listeners can fill us in.
And he never bathed.
Ew.
They say he never bathed. He would go years without bathing.
Yikey!
Wow, I knew he was bad, but wow.
Why hasn't this guy written a book on how to pick up women? Then? First, don't bathe.
Don't bathe.
I know he wasn't particularly good looking, and anyway. And the thing about the hypnotism, the thing about the hypnotism and the healing there's all these theories about the healing because nobody will believe that there was actually like a faith healer kind of thing. But the big question is the Tsarevich, the boy that was a hemophiliac, and how did he seemed to be able to help him. Mm-hmm. And they claim that the records that they have, he told them to keep the doctors away from him. And they think that maybe the doctors were giving him aspirin, which is we all know now is a blood thinner. But back then it was sort of still like the miracle drug to cure everything, you know,
right.
Cure his pains and things. And so that was one theory. But again, this is one of those things you can't really know. Maybe just by keeping the doctors away and making his mother more relaxed and not so frantic, all those things led to him feeling better. I don't know. But yeah.
I like to think it was real magic. Just like in them Harry Potter movies.
Well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the ones the kids like.
Yeah, the kids love it. I mean, my impression, like I said, of this Rasputin character was, my introduction to him was in the animated film of Anastasia. And when Chad said it's like the real magic, like in that film, in the animated film that I watched, he has magical powers. They're evil powers, and almost everything that he touched or something like was green. It was weird. It was some kind of green light to him or something.
Oh, okay.
But here it's just you see, like, I'm going back on talking about how manipulative he's been through using his hypnotic ways. It's bizarre.
Well, like your comparison with David Koresh, you know, there are these charismatic people, and when people are looking for faith healing or whatever, mm-hmm. sometimes stuff happens, you know.
Hey, I felt like I would have followed Christopher Lee anywhere in this movie, except out the window at the end.
Yeah.
I'd have snapped out of it real quick.
Well, and this guy Yusupov apparently, from that point on, lived off the reputation of I killed Rasputin. He wrote a book about it, and he went around giving talks, and people, you know, he sucked off it. And then he also sued. There was a movie in the 30s that was supposed to be a Rasputin, so he sued him anytime that they would say anything about him or any of the real people, and he won a lot of money, especially for back then. So then when you come along, so for instance, with this one, the people that were in it, the movie, the actors and that, they said that the script that they had, the shooting script, all the pages had to be initialed by Yusupov.
I read that too.
He ended
I
up
read
having
nothing of the sort.
So that's why they changed everything, you know, like they were sisters and they weren't this and they weren't that, you know, and nobody's named used. Nobody has the real name, and, you know, so you can't prove nothing.
The story is
it's a cool story, though. It's a cool story.
Yeah. Well, and this guy died in 1967, and the story I heard Yusupov died in 1967. So right after the movie came out. And then I heard Christopher Lee on the commentary. He tells the story about knowing this guy that knew this doctor that told him that on his deathbed, he said there was no poison. And then I looked up a couple of different articles and finally found one that said, yeah, this guy admitted that he chickened out and never poisoned the cakes or the wine with the cyanide, you know, so
Bummer.
Yeah, so Yusupov is totally freaking out because he's impervious to poison. I don't know, but that's the thing. So you got people that are dead, and they're the only ones that know what happened, and they are telling different stories. So
it's now the cool story that you can poison a guy, shoot him, choke him, beat him up, and then he still is like
throw him in the river.
Yeah, like my Uncle Bill.
Oh my God.
He's hard to get rid of, is what I'm trying to say.
Family. What are you gonna do?
We don't like him.
I totally forgot what I was going to say. Something.
So Rasputin's the uncle that everyone hates.
something to do with the history of it. But anyway, let's.
my Uncle Bill.
So these are the other people that I didn't have pictures of. This Renee Asherson plays the Czarina, and I've seen her. She was in The Other
Really?
with Nicole Kidman. Other than that, I didn't
really?
see any.
Wasn't
If you look at her IMDb bio, you can recognize her because it's a picture of her that's more current. And Richard Pascoe, of course, and then Dinsdale Landon played Sonia's brother, right? Barbara Shelley's. Instead of having anybody married, they had two brother sisters things, right? It was anyway. And he didn't really do much in terms of genre either.
His face burned off. Oh, you're talking about other
Well,
ones?
Oh yeah,
He did.
Oh,
So-
Your face burned.
there it is.
He looks like he's laughing about it. Look at him. That didn't hurt.
It does. He looks like he's Renfield in the corner.
yes.
Oh,
Anyway,
There's a
And then
couple
when-
things in that scene though that I like that he did, like how he was constantly running into walls, but then he like stopped and he opened his eyes and he like
Yeah.
could see the door. It's
yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's smart.
so
I guess
the
he
top
was
picture-
trying to. Sorry.
go ahead.
Oh
ahead.
no, it's just like I guess like with him having that exposure and on his face, like again with the makeup and stuff, like it started out to look a little like pink red, and that's such a signature look from horror, not horror, but from Hammer, Roy Ashton's work. There's that brightness of that fresh look of whatever wounds are appearing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then later on, his face gets kind of white and flaky, like blisters, and I don't know. The top picture is during the fight with Rasputin between Sonia, Barbara Shelley, and Christopher Lee, and that was a pretty
That was a
crazy
pretty intense
thing.
fight.
Yeah.
And past, yeah.
And it
Dr.
looked like
Zargo.
he really threw her down a couple of times
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Zargo's running around trying to keep him from tipping stuff over, and that one jar had acid in it, which is what we find out later.
Careful,
sort
that's
of
my sample for the doctor in the morning.
That's the Chekhov's gun, right? I'm going to show it to you because we're going to use it later. So yeah, and then I could not find a color shot of Barbara Hershey's suicide.
Barbara Shelley's.
Barbara Shelley. That's Hershey. Wow.
Sorry.
Same first name.
That scene when they're fighting, and he tells that whole scene where he tells her to destroy herself. God,
That was
that was
messed
insane.
up. Yeah.
Oh
We're in
man.
the
But during that whole fight, my brain, the music that's going through my head was that. I'm
So-
seeing plates spinning and all kinds of stuff.
Oh God.
So according to her, there was an actual wrist cutting scene, and they cut it out. And she was kind of irritated because it wasn't easy to do. And anyway, so they didn't. That wasn't in there. She also claimed that they cut out scenes where she's the lady in waiting at the palace. That gives her some motivation to, turn against or leave the palace. Like something to do with the way they treat her or something that were cut out. So she said it just made me look like I was just a slut waiting for the first unbathed guy with big eyes to come along. No, she didn't say that. But anyway.
I didn't have anything to do with it. Jeff Mohr at
So I did that one. Let's see. Oh,
made my whole
yeah.
neck burn.
So this is the
I'm the
whole
one with
hypnotizing
indigestion here.
thing. Yeah. This whole dancing scene was awesome, I thought. And he was supposed to be drunk or a skunk when he did it. And apparently, I guess Christopher Lee can't dance that well. So they artfully cut in shots where you could see him. Otherwise, he's got this big mane hanging down and he's twirling around. So
you can really see his stature in this movie too. I mean, I knew
his
that
what?
His stature, his physical stature, and his weight. Yeah, he was good.
Well, I think he had boots with heels on, and then at one point he puts that big fur hat on. He ends up being 7 feet tall, I think. So I threw that in just for the costume, Daphne.
Thank you.
The costumes,
that robe was so.
It was beautiful.
Looks like it's made out of Crown Royal bags.
You and your Crown Royal bags.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it would go there. And,
yes, beautiful costumes.
I can quit anytime I want.
Oh my God.
So another thing that was cut was the fight scene at the end. There was a much bigger fight between Ivan, the Francis Matthews character, and Rasputin.
Longer?
And yes, much longer. They claim, Francis Matthews said we spent, did I say, oh, that's a better word than bigger. Francis Matthews said they spent 3 days filming that.
Wow.
And so and then he sort of points it out. Here's where they cut it. You see Rasputin lurches up and throws the knife, and Dr. Zargo, jumps in front of it to protect Ivan and gets it in the back, and it throws Ivan over to the side, Ivan, right? And then Dr. Zargo kind of lurches around and ends up on the floor. And then we cut right to Christopher Lee running over there. And if you look at Ivan, then he's all bloody and his clothes are all disheveled and everything. He would not have had that much of a that much of a change just from getting pushed out of the way. Let's put it that way. And then after they throw Rasputin out, I think he walks back over and there's a burning log from the fireplace laying on the floor. There was. Yeah, we don't know how that got there. So that had to have been part of the fight too, and they were melt you. Francis Matthews was really irritated about that. He said all the work we put into that, and then somebody went, "Ooh, 93 minutes too long. We need to cut this or something." Unless they had bad angles or something. Right. I don't know.
Somewhere in film school, there's a professor going, "You see that? You see where'd that come from? I don't know where it come from.
Yeah.
Just sitting there smoking. Who knows? Who knows?
Where'd the log come from? So that's
instant log. Kids love it. You add water and boom, instant flaming log. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I'm just looking. So I did want to mention. So I think I mentioned the cinematographer, and of course the music was by Don Banks, which I thought was awesome. I mean, that opening thing was so set the scene. I thought it sounded so Russian. What did you guys think of the music? Did you notice it or not? Or
in the beginning, yes, but I had a hard time. I wasn't paying too much to the music in the film. I don't know if you guys did, but yes, like you said in the beginning,
right.
Yes, that stood out. But then as the rest kind of played out, the pacing and the acting and everything just took me in. And I guess the music was just sort of I didn't even think about it.
The only song I was worried about was the plate spinning song. It's like once I heard it, I couldn't get out of my head. I was humming at work the next day.
Oh, God.
It was bad. Have
you guys ever seen acts like that? They used to, apparently in Chad's time too, but back when I was young, they had all these variety shows on,
Mhm.
and they had to keep plugging the acts in. And like Ed Sullivan was famous for having plate spinners, was somebody that would come on at least a couple times a year. They'd run up and down the table spinning these. Anyway.
Well, I didn't notice the music much either, which is a good thing probably. But there was a couple of times when there was like something big happening when it was definitely like boom, you know, it was there, but it didn't distract me or anything, which is good.
Yeah, yeah. So of course the production designer Hammer is Bernard Robinson, and makeup was Roy Ashton, who had to do the acid and had to do the beard and the hair for Christopher Lee. He said, you remember that scene where he's like eating like a fish stew with his hands, and that palace guard or something comes in to tell her the czarina wants to see him, and he spins around his chair. He's got stuff in his beard,
Oh, yeah.
He said, according to Christopher Lee, that was real fish stew, and that his beard stunk. He said they tried. You wouldn't believe all the stuff we tried to get the smell out of that. And then it started smelling worse because of the stuff they tried to get the smell out.
I can imagine. Oh my gosh, I've worked with beards. I can imagine. Wow. And correct me, but I thought, didn't Roy Ashton have a huge ordeal with Curse of the Werewolf also? It wasn't he the makeup artist for that. So I mean, him doing beard work and hair. I mean, I have so many questions for people that do that consistently, because that's not my favorite thing.
I can't. It amazes me when I see them like doing that makeup, and they're like, they got these little like tiny tweezers, and they're like pushing each hair into the makeup. I'm like, oh my god,
so much patience,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, I thought it was gross, just the character having that food in his beard,
right?
This conversation, but now the technical part of it, thinking about God, how must it really?
Apparently, that was a real thing. Rasputin did was people always said his beard was just caked with food and liquids, and it.
That's what I was thinking. Oh, Rasputin. There you go again. And wardrobe was Rosemary Burroughs, which I thought was great.
Yes.
I just thought, especially, the women get to show off a little more than the men, but the Rasputin stuff was really cool too.
Yeah, she was. The costumes were awesome. I loved Dr. Zergos out his suit also.
Yeah,
and I loved how you were talking about how Rasputin kind of goes from his costume changes as his notoriety changes. So even at the end, when he's showing up at this rendezvous, he has that super opulent coat that you mentioned, the hat, but this, he's like totally dressing himself up.
Oh yeah,
look good,
like a mink coat and a mink hat. And, well, yeah, he starts off. He's like the black sheep monk. He's sneaking out of the monastery.
I know.
To go womanize and drink at this bar, and in the meantime save somebody. Does a wild dance, and then takes the barman's daughter off and tries to rape her. Cuts the guy's hand off, cuts her boyfriend's hand off, and then sneaks back to the monastery. And it's the head of the monastery
with some half-ass confession.
Yeah, the head of the monastery's got the hand laying there on a handkerchief. He folds it over, and he goes, "Well, I can explain that." He goes, "I'm not worried about that." What's a little cut off hand? It's like, oh Lord!
Somewhere, guys. I was an artist.
Oh Jesus!
I was looking up some stuff about Rosemary Burroughs, and I was looking at Alistair's awesome Infogothic book. And
oh yeah.
So he had like all these like a fashion portfolio of all the costumes through Hammer.
Oh, cool.
But
Cool.
my
That's nice.
favorite infographic, I wish I would have had a picture of, it was the rise and fall of the Hammer neckline. And he actually draws different like layers to different costumes. It's beautiful.
Wow.
It's perfect. It's genius. It's so perfect for Hammer.
As a matter of fact,
Great, yeah.
Oh,
It's
talk
on
amongst
page-
yourselves.
I think it's on page 64 or 61 or 64 or something.
Oh, here, yeah.
and then it's like me and Chad are here at the bottom. We're like kids that didn't have this
I
book at
know.
school. Like,
He's gonna show you.
get a look at these guys, Chad.
My mom said it was either government cheese or a book.
Yes.
It was the government cheese.
So anyway, probably can't. It's all.
So good. Yeah.
That's what you're talking
That's
about. There,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
And then on the bottom corner, there's the anyway, this is just hilarious that he graphics the different chest.
What are we looking at there? Oh, okay.
I don't know, but I'll tell you what.
This is a family program.
If you're a
Oh
Hammer
my
fan,
goodness.
you guys need to get this book, Infogothic,
Or if you're
an
not
unauthorized
a fan,
graphic guide to Hammer horror. And he's got all kinds of good stuff in here. Anyway,
Nice.
Well, the costumes are such a big
Alice
part
here.
of Hammer.
Sorry, Al. Sorry.
Yeah, same. Sorry.
Perfect.
they are.
It
What?
scared me for a second.
I
The
gotta get it.
costumes and the set designs are just incredible. If
Designs
you
and all the
you
makeup
could
and
watch
stuff.
this whole movie just looking at all the stuff in the subs
Mhm.
and just be going, holy crap, how much. And the actors actually kind of joked, well, they spent all their money on wardrobe and sets. We didn't get anything, and people think we're getting royalties now, and they're like, yeah, no, that didn't happen. So I don't think they got a lot. But anyway, any other comments we want to make? I know they'll. So they had a disclaimer for this Russian. This is an entertainment, not a documentary. No attempt has been made at historical accuracy. All the characters and incidents may be regarded as fictitious.
Say that first part again.
This is an entertainment,
Oh.
not a documentary.
I've never heard entertainment used as.
I know.
No.
Hmm.
It's
No.
quoted. They may have the quote wrong, but who knows?
It don't sound right. I'm not gonna sleep tonight. I can tell already.
And it totally leaves the Tsar out. There's no Tsar in here. All we have is the Czarina and the Tsarevich. Okay. Anything else? Last comments? Last thoughts? Final thoughts?
I
One of
love
those
this
things.
movie. I don't know. I guess when I was first watching it and seeing little bits and pieces, I was like, "There's no monster in this." Click and I would turn the channel. But I'm glad I got to see it this time because it is really, really a good movie, and I think it's one of Christopher Lee's favorite movies. Maybe. I'm sleepy.
I know.
It's hot. It's really hot right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
It's hot here, and I'm.
Well,
Yeah.
it'd be that's that. You're thinking of the movie with Christopher Columbus and Barbara Hershey in it. That's
Don't confuse
All
me
right.
anymore.
Any
think
other
it's one of
final thoughts?
Christopher Lee's finest roles.
we got you.
Yep.
Other final comments? Anybody? Other than
It's-
we love this movie and
Very good. Sorry, I
Yeah.
had to throw a pun out there.
It's bearded. That was awesome.
I mean, why not?
Chad's actually, I can see it. I can see the wheels turning. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that?
That's what I was thinking.
Gotcha.
All right.
Great minds think alike.
No, it's an excellent movie. It's a fun movie to watch. It's very rich in every detail, but huge amounts of the sets. The castle where the kid
Yes.
gets pushed off the thing. That's from Dracula, Prince of Darkness. The bar is in Dracula, Prince of Darkness. They literally made it on this mostly the same sets. Okay. That's it for this episode, but every 2 weeks we'll focus on a specific film released between 1920 and 1969. The next one is Whitney's pick. What are we watching, Whitney?
Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yes, where do I sign those residents? Right here? Do you need
Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space.
I'm just picking on you.
Well,
Whitney.
Well, I mean, hey,
and
we
you
just
know
have
what?
to see how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, well. This is
I got a
another
pretty
one.
good
I've
idea
never
how it's
watched
gonna
it.
go.
I've never watched this.
You have
Really?
never watched it.
Oh my
I've seen
God.
enough clips that I just kind of went,
Right.
Oh,
And I always feel
yeah.
bad seeing Bela Lugosi like that. And I just don't
I
want to feel
know,
bad.
but
But I'll watch
this
it.
is
I'll watch
why
It
I want
is.
to do
It
it
is.
because I want to know what everyone's thinking.
it. Okay.
I'm not used to
Um,
telling people how I really feel about things.
I know.
Go
Well,
for it. I don't care.
But now we have some time to come up with some puns. Yeah. All right.
It's a pun.
Plenty
It's
of
one of them things that
ways.
rhyme at the beginning and don't rhyme at the end.
Tad, I told you not to talk during this podcast. There's plenty of ways to stay in
So
touch.
annoying.
Please send feedback to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com or leave your comments at the Gruesome Magazine's YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Or you could catch us on podcast apps in the audio version. Catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the classic era, as only decades of horror can do it. Thanks, everybody,
then.
so much. Thank you so much. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.